So before I start in any interview, I always ask the first question is how's everything going, not just musically, but also in your personal life, because that's important too.
Um, well, I think good, I think everything is always a perspective and a balance. And I think we all go through hard stuff and stuff that is beautiful, and it's all about finding the balance, yeah. So I think right now, for the band, definitely it's exciting, but it's also a lot of work. So um it's the process, like when you have so much to do, you feel like you're kind of stuck in it. But then,
Hmm.
like, as much as, oops, sorry, I thought I actually killed all the notifications. Um, so when there's a breakthrough, like you finish something, you finish editing the choirs, let's say, that's what I'm working on right now. I'm almost done. So then it feels amazing, right? But
Hmm.
there's always like so much work in an album that yeah, sometimes being in the middle of it is kind of hard. Yeah. So right now we're like right in the middle, lots of work that is behind the scene. So
Hmm.
it's also a little difficult to show the fans because, well, because of copyrights and things like that, we can't really release anything musical. We can't show too much about what we're doing, right? So, but we can't wait. We're super excited about it. So yeah, we're doing great. Personally as well, I think I'm kind of struggling with some health issues, but as I said, everything has a balance, and I'm sure it's gonna get better. So all
For
good.
sure. I'm sure it's really hard to keep those big secrets and be like, oh, I want to tell you guys, but we can't yet.
Yeah, yeah. Especially when it's so much work, and if you've been following us for a few years, well, that's the thing. Like, it's been a while since our last album. A lot has happened
Hmm.
in the building of this one and the next chapter. So yeah, we're really past ready to release in terms of like how we feel, but there's still some work to be done. So yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely be praying for your health issues because health issues are definitely no fun at all.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
So I want to ask about the new album. What stage are you at currently in the process?
Okay, so the choirs are recorded, the guitars, the bass, the drums, pretty much almost everything is recorded. My vocals, like my main vocals, are recorded. What is left is the violin solos, and I'm actually going in the studio tonight for one of the hardest ones. So
Ooh.
send the good vibes.
All the good vibes.
Thank you, thank you. I've been practicing quite a lot for this one. So yeah, now we're recording the violin solos, and I'm finishing up the violins, and I have like 3 songs I think that I need to do viola for. And those are like orchestra violin and viola. So
Hmm.
when I orchestrated for every song, I wrote like for an orchestra, but we're not a stage at the moment where we can hire a full orchestra. So instead, I play the violin one, violin two, viola like 6 times. And then
Oh,
it gives
wow.
you the texture of a string orchestra, basically. So, and I use, unfortunately, samples for the rest of the orchestra, but they sound pretty good. So, yeah.
I mean, it's kind of hard to have one person do a whole orchestra, to be fair.
Yeah. So that's what's in the process. I mean, we are editing. Yannick is editing his drums that we're recorded, sorry. So yeah, almost everything is done, recording. Wow, my English is going away. Um,
It's
so
okay.
lots of, we're on the editing part, and we're starting mixing very soon. So we're very excited about that, because then every part goes together and you finally hear the whole thing, with um the real sound and not just the draft sounds, when you're doing pre-production and everything sounds a bit like it was recorded in the basement. So now we're gonna get the real studio sound, so we're excited.
That's awesome. So I know it's been a little while since you guys have came out with an album. How would you describe this one compared to like previous ones?
Um, I think this is a more personal view of things. I think because we sat so long with it, like we had this question before in interviews, and we don't really think about that, but when we receive that question in interviews, we're like, oh yeah, like you think about this, right? So the question is, when do you feel like a song is finished, right?
Hmm.
But, um, And I think in the past, they were songs that we let out that I'm not saying every songs, but I will say sometimes I felt like I would have loved to just tinker a little bit more with it. Well, at
Yeah.
this point, let me tell you, I feel like every song on this record is ready to go out, in the sense that we really spent the time to fine tune everything. So there's
Hmm.
that aspect that for me was very important and I feel great about. There's a lot more orchestrations than in the previous albums. So we really put the time on this. I think so. One of the things our bassist Steve was saying when he came to records, for him, he said it was more catchy. So there's maybe more like little catchy riffs or melodies in there. Um,
Hmm.
so I think it's going to sound more grandiose, and also I think between songs it feels more like a whole. This one.
Hmm.
So I think that's the big difference. But yeah, I really, I mean, just like any band, you release something and then you just keep your fingers crossed and you hope the fans will love it as much as you do.
Yeah. So, how do you normally begin with a song? Like, how does it begin? Does it start with like lyrics, like a melody, a riff, an idea?
I think it's different for every band and every artist actually. We've discussed that sometimes with other artists and their process is very different. For us, um, we tried a few things. We definitely tried many different ways of working, but we figured out that our best way of working is if I come up with a melody for
Hmm.
the vocals, and it's like I just sing gibberish on it, so we know where the we know the rhythms but literally it's the melodies. So like I will sing the melodies that I'm thinking about. Usually it's in my car or when I'm walking in nature, and then I
Hmm.
record this on my phone. There's a whole gig of random stuff there. Then I create the structure, and I also incorporate some melodies for violin. And then I send it to the others. So I'm gonna write like I'm gonna label this is the chorus, this is the pre-chorus, this is the verse, and I write like here guitar plays heavy riff, like so I send this structure. Um, First, sometimes to Yannick, our drummer, and then he will add drums. And then we send it to the guitarist, Marc-André, who listens to it and he's like, oh, okay, yeah. And then he composes something on the guitar that goes with what we gave him. Sometimes everything goes like, 1, 2, 3. Sometimes Marc-André will be like, well, could you change this? And then we give each other feedback. So this is like the core. And then once this is done, we compose the growls and we compose as well. Steve composes the bass. So that's
Hmm.
usually how it goes.
I can say after all the interviews I've done, I've never heard that structure before, and I think it's so unique and so awesome. Like I just sing gibberish, and then I put I don't know heavy metal guitar here or growl here. Like that is so creative. I love it.
Oh, and well, thank you. First, thank you. And then I just realized I forgot one step. The last step is orchestrations. When I have all the rhythms from everybody, then I orchestrate around it. Like I will be like, oh, here the cello can play with the bass. And yeah, so that's the last step. But yes, definitely. I think what we see often is like the guitarist writing a riff and then everybody uses that. We've done that,
Yeah,
but I feel like our best songs were the ones that we created like the other way. But as I said, every band is different. So,
for sure. And how does it feel being? I guess I mean, let's be honest. Like it sounds like you're a key player in the band. How does it feel, kind of just being like the most valuable player, but also being a female in the heavy metal scene? Because there's not a ton of them.
um, okay. So I think we take I think I do have a lot of roles in the band. It's overwhelming sometimes because there's so much work, right? I think sometimes I'm like, why don't we do something more simple?
Yeah.
Symphonic metal has so much layers. So
Oh yeah.
sometimes it feels overwhelming, but actually I adore it. Like I adore being able to play my violin, my viola, sing, compose, because often when you have one job, like you have one thing, right? Like if I get hired to play violin, they will keep me on violin. And if I get hired to play viola, they'll like keep me on viola. And sometimes there's symphonies where they like let me do both. But again, I'm not composing, I'm not singing, you know. So to be able
Right.
to do everything is kind of amazing. But I couldn't do anything without all the other musicians. So I don't really want to say I'm a key player in it in a sense that because we're all so important, right? I can't
Hmm.
compose guitar for my dear life or drums whenever I speak the drum language. It's Yannick just looks at me and he's like, "What? You want me to do what?" I'm like, "Okay, just take it, go with it." So yeah, so that's pretty much how I feel about my spot in the band. Um, when it comes to being a woman, I think I think, you know, there were so many strides that were made for women by other women. So I arrived at a point where there were already so many women that made their spot in metal that I'm lucky for that. Um,
Hmm.
and I think guys are really, like I would say most of the time very respectful. You know, my bandmates see me as a bro, I think, so that's even
Well,
perfect. So I don't know. That feels also like I think there's a dynamic with guys that is sometimes pretty easy for me because you know upfront what they think, you know.
mhm.
That makes it kind of easier to, I mean, some women will also just be as forward, but I think that's a male trait that I like, that they're very direct. So to me, I feel like that's easier to work with that. And uh, the one thing that I find hard is image, but I think it's not even just, I think it's just in the industry in general, you know,
Yeah.
like you need to look a certain way, you need to act a certain way, and if you don't, well, there's consequences, right? And
Yeah,
it's hard to find your place. If
for
it,
sure.
to find who you are within this and stay true to yourself. That's the only thing that for me was rough in the beginning because I
Yeah,
was looking at all those beautiful singers and it was like, oh, she's like so elegant and sexy, and I was like, I don't have that kind of same energy and like almost like princess like. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm more like I'm gonna hunt a dragon, so that doesn't really fit. Then you find your spot. So
for sure. And I love your answer about key players. Of course, all bands are, they work together because that's why they're a band. Otherwise, you'd be a solo artist. But I love that you're so humble and you're gorgeous. So I wouldn't worry about your image at all.
well, you're very sweet.
So I have to ask, with any album, of course, sometimes it goes perfect and other times there are hiccups. Have there been any hiccups in the whole process so far yet?
I feel like I feel like being in the studio is the most humbling thing ever. Like, okay, hiccups. I was recording and we use a tube mic, and tubes inside of mic have a lifespan. So then for for a little while, you know, it didn't take a long time, but for maybe like
Mhm.
an hour, we couldn't see very much or hear because you have the whole band playing, so you know, you don't necessarily realize that there's something that changed, but then you hear later and you're like, oh, I just spent an hour recording with a tube that was going to, you know, fault, like at fault and didn't sound good. And then you're like, well, I have to redo this. Yay. Or
Mhm.
I trained for 4 months in Korea, in South Korea, with a teacher that invited me there and for opera. And it changed
Oh
so much
wow.
how I was singing. And I was like, oh my God, it's going to sound so much better on the album. It will be so much easier to mix. So I had to redo all the opera on the album that I had recorded. So there's that. Um, yeah. Oh, I'm in charge of the drums when it comes to tuning them. I made some mistakes where Yannick was like, the snare doesn't sound the same
Oops.
after we recorded for a while, you know, and yeah, so he had to re-record some stuff because of me. So that's the kind of stuff that happens. I feel like there's always something. Or, oh yeah, you know how I'm telling you, I need to record my solos and I'm starting tonight. Well,
Mhm.
we had planned this recording like a month ago or so, like almost 2 months ago, but I slammed my finger in the door.
Oh, ouch.
So like then it's like, oh, sorry, can you come another day to record me? Like I really can't today. So then after this, we're like, okay, let's do it. I felt ill and I'm so sick, I'm in bed. And we're like, okay, well, let's not do it again. So that kind of stuff. I mean, yeah, so many hiccups.
I think it's kind of nice though, because it's kind of like, like a movie. It's all about getting to the end, and then at the end you see the bloopers. Not everything goes perfectly.
Yeah. Yep. I think, maybe for the rest of the recording, we need to install a camera where we see actually the bloopers because sometimes it's like,
So, besides the bloopers, have there been any like happy accidents in the studio that you're like, okay, we did not mean to do that, but let's keep it because it sounds awesome?
um, I think so we all have different ways when we come in the studio. So I think Yannick and I are very much by the book, like we really stick to what we had. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but when Steve comes in the studio, so he's so busy. He's incredibly busy. And often he's going to learn the songs just like a few days before coming in. So he
Mm-hmm.
improvises and then it's like, wow, that was amazing. Let's keep this. Like, and there's so many instances of this. And also when Michael, our vocalist, um, came to record his vocals, I mean, he's incredible. Like he has really a big range.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, like his voice is so like big. It just sounds so powerful and mean sometimes. So and then he has ideas too, right? So he's like, okay, here I'm gonna double, and he does like that high one at the same as the low, and you're like, oh shit, yeah. So definitely we have those moments, yeah.
Well, that's awesome. So, for the people who are going to be listening who don't know the band or just any fan who wants a recap, can you kind of tell me a little bit about the band's background and how everyone met?
Oh, okay. So it goes far. So it all started with German guitarist that contacted Yannick to do drums for his album. Um, Felix and his previous band was Violence Unleashed, and that's what Yannick the drums on. So they started a collaboration together, and so all the riffs were kind of written and the guitar riffs. And then Yannick was like, I feel like Julie would be a good match on this. So he pulled me in the project. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so our first album was that lineup, and then we had Kiko, who was from Italy, playing the bass, a fretless bass as well. Um, so yeah, it started that way, and then we integrated Marc-André, who's the guitarist that Yannick worked in Covadis. They worked together. That's in Quebec, his previous band.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it pretty much like we pulled, and then we also had like a rotation because it's hard, like going on tour for a month, you need a job that lets you do that. And
Mm-hmm.
it's actually really hard to have a job that lets you do that. Even as musicians, you would think like, oh, it's easier, but no, if you teach in a school, then you have to only leave during the summer or like the Christmas break, and that's not when tours happen. So we don't tour extensively, but when we do have a tour for a month, then it's hard. Um, so that explains our lineup, how it was born, what kind of music we are. We are mix of classical, folk, sometimes medieval influences, with heavy metal, death metal, melodic death metal, and we also have some hints of fusion, sometimes from a guitarist as well, who loves
Mm-hmm.
jazz and is very versed into it. Um, it's really a mix, and we used to feel weird about it because it was hard to fall into a category. But now
Mm-hmm.
it's like, whatever, this is what we like doing, right? So I don't think a lot of people go into metal and with the idea we're gonna make a fortune. I think people do this because they love it. So if you're gonna work so hard, um, then just make something that really speaks to you, right? So that's what we're doing.
And how did everyone kind of meet in the band?
Uh, well, like as I was saying, like the core, right? So that's what had happened. Um, but after this, it's really we just pulled different people that we worked with before, or
Hmm.
so our previous vocalist, Aaron, um, was from Knoxville, and he came to our recording studio, and we heard him, and we were like, "Oh, your voice is awesome! Like, what do you think about joining us?" Um, and then because touring was kind of hard for him, then we put that's I think that's the only time that we did like a kind of blind audition. We just said like submit your things, and that's how we Michael came to us. So that was a very cool find.
Oh,
Um, and as far as Steve DiGiorgio, he worked with Yannick on the Covadis album as well in the past. So that's how they met.
okay. And without giving too much away, what can you tell fans and new listeners about the new album?
Mm.
Besides the fact that if they don't listen to it, they're going to be missing out.
Well, as I was saying, I think it's going to be very powerful. It sounds bigger because of more orchestrations and just more of everything. Very technical as our previous albums, but as things go on, I think on the violin, I also try to be more technical. Uh,
Hmm.
so it's not, I was just jealous a little bit. Whenever everybody was like, oh, your drummer is amazing, your bassist is amazing, your guitar is amazing. I was like, okay.
No pressure, right?
So I started writing like more intricate violin parts. So I think there's a lot more violin solos and intricate parts on the violin as well. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, is there like a theme that the album will be centered around?
Wow, you really have all the questions that are like spot on. Yes. So in this album, I was in charge of the lyrics. Sometimes in the past, I was sharing this with either Yannick or Felix on the first album. On this album, it was solely me. Um, and what I focused on, I think, as I said, there was a lot of stuff that happened um, in the previous, like, in the last years, since the last album. And some of
Hmm.
these were like pretty big life moments, like hardships, right? And
Hmm.
how I how to go through these hardships. So for us, we rarely put out music that we feel won't be hopeful. Like our goal is really to help the listener feel better. So whether it's like a minute of just distracting, like you listen to music just because you get into it and you don't think about your worries during that time, or
Yeah.
because the message makes you feel better. So for me, it's super important, and for the guys as well, that this is a message, that's hopeful and um, that brings people up. So this album was centered mostly about how we're all linked together, all unique
Hmm.
and all lives. So there's yeah, I can't say too much. But yes, there's this connection. So really like a big part of the album is about connection, and another one is resilience, how to get through stuff that is really, really heavy, really hard. And that you're like, okay, sometimes you're thinking, I think I'm done. I think I have enough. Like, and then
Hmm.
how do you keep on going from that moment? Type of a little bit. I know it's dark, but I mean it's metal.
Yeah. Exactly.
But it's always brought up in a hopeful way, and with the betterment in mind. Sorry guys, my English is a shame sometimes.
It's okay. Mine is too. I go back and look at my interviews and I'm like, what word was I trying to say? Because I did not say the word. So is it too soon to ask if there will be tours or live shows played for the new album? Or are we way too
Um,
soon for that?
so we are looking right now into it. We really spent most of our time on preparing, and the
Hmm.
preparation included finishing our recording studio, which is right now like really nice. I mean, we had how would you call that? acoustician design it. So it really is the best it can be. So we're really happy about that. And that was a big step. Um, and working to pay it too. And we also acquired a tour bus. So same thing again, working a lot. And to make sure that it's fully ours.
Yeah.
So this is all preparation that we had, and also the composition, the recording and everything. So now that we're finally towards the end of things, we are starting to look into booking. So if you want us somewhere gone in April in your city, let us know.
So are you still going to be releasing with the same label that you had in your previous albums?
For now we're not sure. That's something like many bands do, is just before when the product is finished. So
Hmm.
we're gonna look into it, but there's chances. We're not sure yet.
So once the album drops and like the pre-release is ready, what's the best way for fans to get like updates, and where will they be able to listen and get the album?
So we are on Instagram and Facebook. That's where we are the most active. Um, we try to be on TikTok.
I
But I
TikTok
mean,
is hard.
it's just there's certain, yeah, we try to be on TikTok. Let's leave it to this. Um, but so you can find us easily on Facebook or Instagram, and our music is pretty much on every platform. So we use TuneCore and it distributes it quite widely, but definitely on Spotify, YouTube. So yeah, and we have some videos that we filmed already that are going to be released as well, that we can't wait, literally. Again, we're sitting on so many things, and it's exciting, but we're like, oh.
And last question here. Is there anything you would like to say to fans that have been with you from the beginning, new fans, or anyone interested in listening to your music?
Okay, well, fans that have been with us since the beginning, that's amazing. And of course, we love all of you. But there's something about having people that support you. I think this is, especially from the beginning, but literally every fan, everybody who spends time, energy, and supports metal artists. As I said, this is not an easy. Actually, music is not easy in any field, any genres. But um, I think it's a lot of work. I think it's a lot of heart, and the responses we get from fans, they live with us like forever. um, Literally, like that's what feeds us and makes us want to continue. So thank you guys. A huge, huge thank you. And even at some point when I was going through stuff, I tend to just like disappear. That's how I deal with things. Um, and because I was not posting much on social medias, I had some fans contact me and saying, "Hey, like I didn't see you post anything. Are you okay?" And that's so heartwarming,
For
know
sure.
that you have people who care like this. So literally, thank you so much, guys.
I mean, who wouldn't want to like join a fan base like that? It's like you guys are a family, so you guys should really join this little Gone in April family. It sounds lovely.
Oh, thank you.
So I do want to thank you for taking your time for doing this interview with me. For everyone watching, I'll definitely make sure to give updates so then you guys can make sure to keep up with the album. And if when you have more things, if you guys want to do another interview, I'd be happy to do that with you too.
Well, I would love that. Yes. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. And for everybody who's joining, thank you so much. You guys are the best. And literally, we can't wait. We can't wait for you guys to see what's coming. So thank you.
And I'll also make sure to drop the band's Instagram and also Facebook in the links below so you guys can check them out. And once you guys have more stuff, let me know and we'll do another interview and get that done.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time today. That was awesome. And now I know that we live close.
Yeah. All right. Well, take care and thank you again.
Take care. Bye.
All right. Bye bye.